but I want to push your log, power log. KB2IDX. All right, I want to remind everybody we're about ready to get started with the Colorado HDNet, Colorado Hotspot Discussion Net, Colorado Hotspot Digital Net, Colorado HD. And we're here every Wednesday. We are in our chat room. We have our chat room open, ham.live. You can log in and get checked in that way. So if you don't know about it, come on in on ham.live. If you have a Gmail account, make sure you hit the Google button. Otherwise, just hit the email button. And with that, I'm going to let you take it, Chris. Over to you. KB2IDX from W0SUN. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Colorado Hotspot Discussion Net. Hotspot Digital Net. HDNet. I'm Chris, KB2IDX, and I am in Bloomington, Indiana, and I'm codec control with Bucky, W0SUN. He is in Littleton, Colorado. Every Wednesday at this time, we meet here to talk about issues related to digital ham radio, answer your questions, and experience. Let's see. We do prefer to take check-ins online, but we also will take some over the air as well. So, if you're out there and you want to check in online, go to ham.live, ham.live, with any device browser. You've got Gmail account. Click on the Gmail button, and after you follow the prompts, click on attend at Digital Learning. It doesn't say that anymore. Colorado Digital. I'll get used to it, Bucky, I promise. Colorado Hotspot Discussion. I think this title is HD on ham.live, so just click on that. And you will automatically be checked in. Let me reset real quick. If you have another type of email, just go in the box to the right of the Gmail and pop it in to that box, hit enter, and they will email you a link. And you'll follow those prompts as well. You can also tune into this net without a radio. We have our friend Matt, formerly KF0OWB, now N3PAY, who's sponsoring a YouTube link for it. And I will be putting that into the chat room as we speak. You can also go to the Brandmeister hose line. That link is in there, but it's hose.brandmeister.network. And we use talk group 31088. There's a chat room in ham.live. We find it really useful. We can put links and stuff in there, pictures. I got one of Buff Bucky I'll put in there a little later. And I think you can chat on the YouTube channel as well. That is kf0owb.net. Again, and the host.brandmeister.network. Okay. Once you're in our chat room, you're online. We're going to take some over-the-air check-ins here in just a few minutes as well. Now, while you are in, geez, reset again. Boss is going to get on a case. Okay. While you're in the chat room, if you have a question or comment, there's a little hand icon down there at the bottom that you can click on. And we will see that you have raised your hand. We will also take them over the air as well, if you wish. Also, while you're there, you'll notice there's a little star down there. If you click on that, you'll get an email notification when Ham.Live goes live for this net. We also have a webpage that we'd like you to go see. That link is in there. That's coloradodigital.net. Lots of good info there, resources, you name it. A lot of good stuff. There's a blog as well. Announcements and things like that are in there. And you feel so inspired, there is a donation spot too that goes directly to the maintenance. Okay. Let's go and see. Lucky, would you like to help me with the chat room over the air? I can read off what we got in there now. We're up to 27 already, but over to you for a real quick one, Bucky. W0SE1 KV2IDX.
All right. Hello, everybody. See a lot of guys in there in the chat room. A lot of you guys come in here every week, and you're part of the team here. I kind of consider that, and it's good to have you all checked in today. Also, I see a couple of returning people from long ago. That's awesome. All right. I will go ahead and read what we got, and then take some over-the-air check-in. So I'll go ahead and see who I've got right now. Let me reset so I get a fresh timeout so I don't time out. Stand by. Okay, here's who I've got. I've got myself and Chris. I've got KN6 WES, W1 BKW, W5 STC, N3 PAY, N3 JAS, KQ1 USA, VE4 DBZ, W0 KVZ, KF0 OTF, N0 KU, AC0 XW, alright, KE0 TPW, N9 DYO, ZL2 Bravo Echo Zulu, KA1 CNF, KC0 LDY, KF5 CJG, AE0NO, W4 KSK, KN4 FM, K2 AS, W0 SSB, KB0 LSM, KF0 LGZ, KC8 GEF. I have to mention N0 ETC Pete in Pensacola, Florida. Got you checked in on the Ham.Live. Good to have you from long ago. He was on long ago when we had the original Colorado HD net with Bud W0 RMT. That's pretty awesome. All right, I'm going to add KF0 LGZ. I already got that, I think. KC8 GEF. VK2 MFW. We got Michael. And W1 VAN. Got Ivan. All right. Anybody over the air want to get checked in? If you don't have Ham.Live or you're out mobile or whatever, come on in if you'd like to get checked in over the air. Please now with your call sign.
3 VHL, Whiskey Alpha 3, Victor, Hotel Lima.
Okay, we added Glenn, W83 VHL. We got 31 check-ins so far. Good, good, good. Very good. All right, let's go back to Chris, KB2IDX. Over to you from W0SUN.
Okay, Bucky. Well, before we go too far, I just want to make sure that we check and see if anybody has any announcements of interest to us before we go ahead. If so, come now. All right. We just added one more in Ham.Live, WD0AJG. All righty. Very good. Let me see. I think that there are a couple of, well, okay. Go ahead. You may make that announcement. Over to you, Bucky.
All right, for those of you local here in the Front Range area of Colorado, we've got a, well, October Swap Fest coming up. Yeah, I think so. October 19th. But we got one sooner than that. We got, oh, also we have a, the HamCon Colorado from the ARRL. This year it's in Grand Junction, October 23rd through the 26th. My wife and I are planning on attending. That should be good. A lot of classes and everything. Let's see. All right. So let's see. Chris, really quick, back over to you. Are you hearing me on Brandmeister? Or are you seeing me on Brandmeister? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I got you on Brandmeister. I got you on P25. I got you on YSF. And I got you on V-Star.
Okay. I think I found the Rocky Mountain Ham Swap Fest. Let's see. Yeah, Sunday, August 24th. Sunday, August 24th, Rocky Mountain Ham Swap Fest between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. And let's see where that is here. That's going to be at the Adams County Fairgrounds. So I'll put information to the into the chat room on that. So that's coming up. So I'm planning on attending that one as well. Hope to see you there. So yeah, August 24th, Swap Fest or Rocky Mountain Ham Swap Fest, October, and then we have HamCon coming up. All right, back over. I'm just looking at all the chat room. Go ahead, Chris. Back over to you.
Okay. We were just trying to help Jamie out. He was not hearing anything on Brandmeister. And there's the link for the flyer. Okay. We've added a few more since we've been chatting. KK7RGR, WD0, CIV, and KD0D. And that brings us up to 35. And that's it from here unless you want to. I don't really have much. But I'll wait for that when you tell me. So It's all yours, Master of Ceremonies. WU0SUN from KB2IDX.
All right, guys. This is Bucky W0SUN, Connect Control with Chris, KB2IDX. Hey, anybody have any questions on anything digital radio before we get going? Anybody have any questions on hotspots or any new procedure or something you're confused about trying to get into one of these other DMR networks like AMCOM or TGIF or a bunch of others out there? Any questions? Or if you're in the chat room, there's actually a button down below. You can go all the way down and raise your hand. So anybody with any questions, please come down with your call sign. All right. So if you haven't heard, we have just, we used to have a P25 reflector, but we've re-added one. So we've got a P25 reflector. A bunch of us are playing with P25. It's kind of fun. And Chris has a P25 radio, Vail. I'm getting one. A few others have P25 radios. It's a really cool, you can get these Motorola radios pretty cheap. Really good quality radios used where these agencies are letting them go and upgrading their systems to a higher standard of P25. So Chris, you've got a P25 radio. I want to hear your story on how you got it, you acquired it, and how difficult it was, and what you had to do to the code plug, and how it was different, how it was the same, kind of like DMR. I would expect it to be kind of like DMR. So I just want to hear your story. Then I have some comments as well. So from a ham radio perspective, your story with your P25, just going on just recently, adding that to your bunch of radios and hotspots there.
Sure, Bucky. Well, I've had a long-standing desire. Long-standing for me is less than a year, but to have and get into P25 because it was something I couldn't do. I didn't have one. And finally the right deal came about. I knew that the model that I got, which is an XTS 5000, would work for what ham radio was doing. And I found it on QRZ classified. And it came to me with a charger, a battery, antenna, and, excuse me, it worked. Didn't know totally squat about it, so I had to do some scouting around and talking, and I had the vendor tell me where to download the particular software, which is called Astro. I think it's Astro 25. Astro 25 that we used to program it with. And I found that there was stuff familiar, but there was a lot of stuff that was really alien. I saw things like talk groups and phones and channels. And I said, whoa, that sounds familiar. I couldn't get it to work. I talked to our friend Vail, who has the same radio, and he was having troubles. He sent me his code plug. I compared the two I saw some differences. I kept tinkering. I kept playing with it, and the one thing that I eventually found that was my, let me reset. It was my biggest issue was I couldn't figure out where to put in my CCS7 ID, sometimes known as a DMR ID. And once I saw where Vail had it, I knew I had it, and it worked. I had to continue to tinker around with it, and I will tell you that for amateur radio, these radios, these Motorola, are way more capable than what we need. And so there's a lot of stuff in there in this program that has absolutely nothing to do with ham radio. And once you figure out I don't know, there's less than 10 things that you need to set. Send it to the radio, and you're ready to go. It works like a charm on the hotspot right now. It's also a pretty good analog radio. But as Vail will probably tell you, it's a challenge at first to figure out programming. But I had DMR experience, and that helped figure things out. And now it's working fine, and I'll tell you what, I'll even give you a sample of it. I'll be right back next. Yep, we'll be on P25, KB2IDX. KB2IDX, testing 1, 2, 3. This is a Motorola XTS 5000. Thank you, Bucky. What do you think? KB2IDX.
I kind of like it better. It sounds fuller, more robust. The other one sounds a little bit thinner, although it sounded great before I heard the P25. I thought you sounded fantastic, and then all of a sudden I hear P25. It's a little shocking at first, but it actually sounds wider and fuller. Back to you.
Yeah, I am back on WireX now, just because it's a little bit more comfortable. But yeah, now if I want to add a talk group, it's fairly simple. The way the hotspot works is, I'm not going to compare it to D-Star, but it operates with a link command, like D-Star does. When you can go in, I've set it up so you can go into this with a button push and change talk groups. And when I select a different talk group, I hit push to talk, and it changes the hotspot over to the next room that I want. And there is a bit of a delay on the two different talk groups I've played with, and so I'm assuming it's normal. It's noticeable if you're listening on a different radio, which I recommend because it really can confuse you. Back to you, Bucky. KB2IDX.
All right, I don't know much about P25. I'm kind of curious. I'm looking at possibly getting. I was looking at the XTS 2500. A few people have that. I know Josh, KF0LPT, has an XTS 2500 Motorola radio. I was thinking about. I think I'm going to go XTS 5000. That's actually what I'm going to get. There's some more features. I think it does VHF, UHF, 700. It does 700 and 800, 900 actually. In the 700 and 900, what is it? The gigahertz range or megahertz? I can't remember. I think it's megahertz actually. But I like that it does VHF, UHF. So I heard today somebody was using it for GMRS too. So it's a versatile radio, and it's a Motorola. So pretty cool. Also, in Utah, where I travel a lot, they have a trunking system, and I believe I have to have the XTS 5000 for the trunking system. Not positive on that, but I wonder if anybody else has experience with P25. Back over to you, Chris. Any other words on programming with frequencies? When you first programmed it, you saw stuff like C4FM versus FM, right? So should I program it with C4FM or should I program it with FM? Comment on that.
Well, that's entirely up to you. Personally, I have enough analog radios, and only one P25, so I only programmed it for P25. It's a piece of cake to put analog in there. As far as utilizing different bands, that knowledge I don't have. Probably the software I do, but I wouldn't know how to do that.
All right, and how much was it for the radio? And then you probably have to buy an extra battery. So how much did it cost you again?
I paid $225. I did have to buy an extra battery because that's how I am. I got that on Amazon. I paid $30 to $40 for the battery, and it came with the charger, which is a drop-in type charger. And I would make sure, because these radios do come in, I see a lot of them on eBay in the 700-800 megahertz range. And unless you know how to change it, if it can be changed, then go ahead. But mine, I made sure it said goes P25. Make sure it had a charger too, because I knew a radio like that's gotta have a special charger. Anyway, I'd be happy to help anybody if they are interested in getting into that, help them get it programmed. And I don't even remember if there's VHF and UHF models. I don't think that it's capable of doing both UHF and VHF. I don't know. A little past my programming knowledge. Back to you, sir. KV2 IDX.
Okay, anybody, I want to hear anybody else that's messing around with P25 or used P25 radios. Oh, there we go. Dave has some information about a programming cable. Good link there, bluemax49ers.com. Come on into our chat room. You're going to see all this stuff. So anybody else with experience on P25 radios or programming or anything, I'd like to hear your story or what you're using P25 for. Anybody use a repeater on P25? Please go now with your call sign. I wonder if anybody's out there that can answer.
WMCAT. Evening there, Bucky. I am not using a repeater. I'm using a high-power hotspot repeater, an MMDVM repeater on a UFT8800. I'm using an extra 2500 with an extra microphone right now. But yeah, that's how I'm getting to you. I tried to get in earlier, but I didn't make it. But here we are.
All right, Brian. So yeah, you're using high-powered repeater there with the MMDVM controller. That's what I would expect. I think we've got one of those too. Yeah, that didn't sound so good to me. That was actually very digital. And I think you have another radio that actually sounds a little bit better. But that first, I think you're using the Kenwood there. But it sounds very compressed, almost like you're on D-Star. You know how when you're on Fusion, you're hearing D-Star. It sounds very compressed, and versus how wide it sounded with Chris. I wonder if anybody else heard that as well.
Alright, so that's about 10 seconds in there, Bucky, but when you first felt that way, I was on the Kenwood earlier today, but I've been on there, I suggest 2500.
Okay, from a ham radio, P25, it's similar to DMR, where you have zones and talk groups and color codes and things like that. But there's two phases. They started out with phase 1, and P25 phase 1 uses an FDMA, frequency key, digital FDMA. Somebody, I forget exactly what the FDMA stands for. It's going to come back to me. But FDMA versus TDMA. DMR uses TDMA, which is time division multiple access, versus frequency shift key multiple access, or something like that. Frequency shift key, which is what Fusion uses. Yeah, frequency division multiple access, FDMA. So that's important if you're in ham radio. You know, we hear those words. If you want to go into the technical with Fusion, believe it or not, both use C4FM. So P25 uses C4FM. So does Yaesu uses C4FM. P25 always uses voice wide. They don't use digital narrow. Yaesu uses voice wide or digital narrow. So are they compatible? If I have a Yaesu radio and you have a P25 radio, if you're using voice wide and I'm using voice wide with my Yaesu radio, can we talk to each other? Anybody have a comment?
W1CAT.
All right, Brian, you have both radios. Can you use simplex with a P25 and a Yaesu radio?
Shit. No, I don't think so. Well, obviously there's a lot, so I haven't tried that. But I know that the place the hotspot won't pass traffic to the internet via Fusion. So if you're in the very wide mode, it won't pass the traffic through a Pi-Star unit. I must have missed the question. Sorry about that. But yeah, you know, it will not pass the traffic from in the wide mode, only in the digital narrow mode.
Okay, one thing I do know, and I don't understand all the technical ability, but I had a graphic. I'm still trying to find it. That might help me out. Maybe I'll find it before the end of that. But they both use C4FM frequency modulation. But P25 uses something called linear simulcast modulation as well. Kind of a phase shift keying, and C4FM is frequency shift keying. They both use they use both, but I know this for sure: they are not compatible. So even if Kate on simplex, it's not going to work. They're different enough where they are not going to work. But here's what you can do: if you have a Yaesu radio, you can use a OpenSpot from Shark RF, not a Pi-Star. You can't use Raspberry Pi based. This only works with an OpenSpot. So if you go through an OpenSpot and connect to from C4FM, choose C4FM, and then choose P25 and go into the P25 reflector, and then connect. And if you key up with digital narrow, you're not going to be heard. They're going to see you, but they're not going to hear you. So you have to switch your Yaesu radio to voice wide. This is the only time you're going to use voice wide with a hotspot, with the OpenSpot. when you're going on P25. Otherwise, they're not going to hear you. So you got to use the voice wide. Otherwise, with all other systems, all other networks, you got to use digital narrow every time, except for P25. That's very interesting. So if you want to talk P25 voice wide, you got to use voice wide on your C4FM Yaesu radio. But of course, thank you, Dave. WD0HDR said in the chat room. Of course, they can both talk to each other on FM simplex. So that's become the denominator. In fact, oh, hey, Pi-Star WPSD does have YSF2P25. Okay, there you go. I think that's right. Okay, so yeah, you can do YSF2P25. I haven't tried that. I got to try that. I've done it on my OpenSpot, but I haven't done it on my Pi-Star. Thank you. So I was wrong there. So stand by. Let me, before I time out.
So they'll do BZ with a comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, Roger, Bucky. Yeah, regarding the compatibility between the P25 radios and the Yaesu Fusion radios, yes, they both use C4FM as the output method of transmission. The error correction and the encoding before that situation is different. The Yaesu Fusion does their own error correction and encoding, and the P25 does its own version. So therefore the transmission method is the same, but the vocoding and the encoding and error correction before that is not the same, so that's why they can't talk to each other over.
That's right. That's right. Very, very good. Very good. Okay. Thank you, Paul. That's what I was looking for. We did a net on P25 not too long ago, but it was a really good presentation from my friend in Utah that did a presentation on P25 trunking systems. And he came on and told us a lot of information about that. But since we're playing with P25 on 31088, it's kind of nice to know all this stuff. So that's perfect. So that's why they're not compatible. All right, let me reset. All right, so now when you, from an administrator viewpoint, like Colorado Digital Multi-Protocol with our XLX303 reflector, if we want to add P25, we have to add another reflector. So we have to download P25 reflector software and get that up and running and have a P25 reflector, which we bridge into XLX303 Delta. And if we want to have one on somewhere else, we're going to have to figure out a way to bridge that one too. But right now, we have a P25 bridged over to XLX303 Delta. So it's two separate reflectors. Right now, it's just kind of like an M17. If I want to add M17 or NXTN, I need to install the various software and then bridge it into XLX303, which can be done. So that's really nice. And I'm not sure how the vocoding works, but it obviously works because we're doing it right now. So you're hearing people come on with P25 tonight. So that's how you have to do it on an XLX303 reflector. But there is a reflector that's a true universal multi-protocol reflector, and that's called the URF reflector. It's kind of like an offshoot. It's kind of like Pi-Star versus WPSD. So you got XLX versus URF. And we talked about this on another net, I think, but let me reset and explain a little bit there. All right, so if we upgraded our software to a universal URF 303 reflector, it would handle YSF, D-Star, DMR, P25, M17, NXDN. It handles it all. That's why it's a universal reflector. Sounds like it sounds like too good to be true, right? Man, why don't we do that? We should just go upgrade it right away so we can have one reflector to rule them all instead of multiple reflectors, right? So why don't we do that? I think this is why we do it. So the reason we do it is you lose some functionality once you go with the universal universal reflector versus the XLX 303 reflector. They're both they both work on YSF automatically, but you lose a lot of functionality. It doesn't look the same. It's not as nice. The format, I don't think we're going to do that. I really doubt we're going to be upgrading it anytime soon. We're just going to keep what we've got, and if we want to add M17 or NXDN in the future, we're going to go ahead and add a separate reflector. It's not a big deal, and I think it works very well. That's what we're doing right now. We do have NXDN on one module, though, so if you want to experiment with NXDN, and that's module G. So there is an NXDN reflector on module G. If you go on NXDN and type in 31672, you're going to be able to, you'll see yourself, and if somebody moves over to module G, you can have a conversation with somebody on NXDN. If you want to do P25, you got to stick to module D, which is what we're on now. Okay, now some other things from a ham radio perspective, right? So phase one, C4FM. Ham radio is really, it's just a really great thing that we can use P25 radios because they're so very, very expensive. Right now, everybody's in the agencies are upgrading to P25 phase 2. They don't use C4FM. So P25 phase 1 does not use time division multiple access like DMR. So you only get so many channels. They really like P25 because they use all the channels available. And with C4FM, they can only use maybe 2 channels in the way they implement P25. They're very limited on the number of channels. You're using all the frequency space. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but the big thing with moving to phase 2 is you get a lot more channels. The way they do P25 is they multiply into a lot more channels using more, the same bandwidth with more channels, okay? That's the big thing, a lot more channels, and you can do trunking and all this stuff. So that's really nice. You get a control channel and some other channels, and you can have multiple conversations in the same bandwidth, save a lot of bandwidth. Also, better encryption, a lot of better, really cool things that you get with P25 phase 2. But it comes with a price. And I think the reason it's so expensive is the type of vocoder they use versus the one they use with P25 phase 1. So, but they really like to use them because when they, like say we had another catastrophe like Katrina or 9/11, here's the thing. Let me reset. Okay, so the big thing with P25, it's mostly used in public safety and government agencies. It's very expensive, but the benefits you get is when you arrive at a multi-agency type event, everybody can communicate with everybody. That was the big thing. That's why they went P25, is so everybody can communicate to everybody. So P25 Phase 1 and P25 Phase 2, can they communicate to each other? Yes. If you have a P25 Phase 1 trunking system, or not a trunking, but if you have a P25 Phase 1 system, everybody's going to be able to talk to each other. And if you have a P25 Phase 2 radio that communicates over to a Phase 1 trunking system, it just downgrades to P25 Phase 1. It goes back to C4FM type modulation. So it's very easy and very compatible when you're upgrading an entire system to P25 Phase 1. You can do it in certain projects where you can upgrade this portion to Phase 2, and then that portion to Phase 2, and then that portion over there for Phase 2. But if you have to have an interagency operation, they are all compatible with each other. If anybody goes and connects to a P25 reflector with Phase 1, they just go, they switch from Phase 2 to Phase 1, and then they can communicate with each other with that type of modulation system. That's what's really cool about P25. Here's another thing that you find out. So what about in the rest of the world that's not public safety? I'm just going to read this word for word. Okay, so this is the way they approach it when businesses are looking for a digital radio. So P25 and DMR are two digital radio standards designed to improve communication efficiency. P25, or Project 25, was created specifically for police, fire departments, emergency medical, developed by the Association of Public Safety Communications, or APCO, APCO. All right. So P25 was intended to replace analog radio systems and provides a more robust, secure, and interoperable communication solution for mission-critical situations. All right. So P25 radios work across different agencies, jurisdictions, and during large-scale emergencies. That's why they're so expensive. On the other hand, let's look at DMR. And I'm going to put this link in here so you can read with me. So this is really good information. And this is what they're concerned about. They don't talk about it from a ham radio perspective. This is what they care about. Let me reset. So what about businesses? If they want digital, they are not going to go P25. They're going to stick with DMR, mostly because of cost. But they're still going to get spectrum efficiency. They get digital voice. They get to share multiple access to the same frequency spectrum. They get channel 1 and channel 2. At the same time, they can have two different conversations at the same time. It just makes sense. So DMR is developed for the commercial and industrial sectors instead of the public safety standards. So that's where you're going to see a lot of DMR. And that makes sense because if you go and look at frequencies, you know, when I was a big person into scanning, I loved to scan police frequencies and all that. And I was really bummed out when they started using encryption and all that because I couldn't use my digital scanner as much. So if I go look at websites that offer frequency ranges and things like that, you can see that everybody's in the safety. All the police agencies are going P25, P25, P25. All right? But they can always use, if they ever come across, like Dave said, you can always go back to FM modulation. Everybody can use FM modulation. So that's the thing. P25 and DMR. P25 public safety, DMR the business sector. So that's really how that stacks up. Any other comments about that? Any other comments? Anybody know or have any experience with that? Please come out with your call sign.
W0 SSB.
All right, W0 SSB, go ahead.
One of the reasons that P25 came into existence is in the very early days, the three major manufacturers all came up with their own digital protocol, and every one of them was not compatible with the others. And government entities don't like being locked into one manufacturer, which is what you would have if you purchased a digital system from any one of those manufacturers. So the APCO people decided that they would come up with a consensus standard that they would share with everybody and allow anybody to build to that standard, so that there was a interoperable, I guess is the big buzzword that they used, between manufacturers. That way, there was a standard that everybody could purchase that would, didn't matter whose brand of radio that you purchased that was P25, they'd all talk to each other. W0 SSB.
Oh, yeah, and shopping around for P25 radios, I mean, we're seeing all kinds of manufacturers. When I was at Dayton, Ohio, man, we were seeing P25 radios. Oh, geez, let's name some of the manufacturers. Kenwood, Motorola, E.F. Johnson. Can you believe that? E.F. Johnson. I saw a P25 radio on that. That was a really old radio, and other manufacturers as well. So Kenwood, by the way, also you can buy an NXDN radio from Kenwood. That's the major manufacturer for NXDN. Just saying. So good Wikipedia there. Project 25 is a good read. A really good comment. Thank you, W0 SSB. So I included a web page. This is a really, if you want to really go into the history and all the information with a bunch of links, go to Wikipedia and look up Project 25. Another website is mciwireless.com. I found a lot of good information on that website as well. emciwireless.com. I thought that was a very interesting webpage. And yeah, it's kind of fun to play with. What about M17? We were really going gung-ho about M17, and it seems to have lost steam because they took out MMDVM out of the hotspots. But guess what? Chris just bought a used. Oh, by the way, M17 radios have come down in price. Can you believe that? Chris, you just recently acquired an M17. I'm going to let you talk about what's going on with M17 and how you're able to get on M17 even though they took out MMDVM of the Raspberry Pi-based hotspots. So over to you. KB2IDX, this is W0SU1.
Okay. M17 is not dead. Rumors of its demise. Yada yada. Here's what I found. I think it was the M17 net last Saturday on KCY that mentioned that they were selling off used CS7000 M17 Plus radios for $200. And sure enough, they were. And yes, I did. No, I shouldn't have, but I did it anyways. And I got one, and so I had to set up a hotspot to do that. And the M17 people, I'll have to dig up the URL. The M17 people have put out a, I guess we'll call it a fork WPSD. Quick reset. And the cool thing about it is that whatever it is those guys did, it still gets updates. And it will also do the other modes as well. It's not solely just an M17 hotspot. I had a little difficulty at first because I was getting a bad image. And I kept trying and got a good one, and it works. So a little bit of manual programming on the radio itself, because there is no CPS for M17 yet. They have one for the DMR part of it, but not the M17. Like, you gotta put your call sign in it. I'm glad for that. It won't transmit if you don't put your call sign in. And I would say it's lighter than the Motorola's, but it's Motorola-ish. It's got the universal contact on the side. All I did was rotate the VFO to the frequency of my hotspot, and it was done. It works. I have been a little bit disappointed with the receive on it. I don't know whether it is adjustable in firmware differences, but you have to really turn the volume knob way up to hear anything, which is really only a minor annoyance. But the receive, I hear a lot of artifacts, R2D2, when it's receiving, and I think Vail has the same setup. Actually, I don't think he has the Plus, but nonetheless, he has his hotspot set up the same way. He said, if I recall earlier today, he said that his does the same thing. I'm not sure what that's all about, but it works. It shows the call sign of the person. It's great. It was easy to do, really. I know Bucky is a proponent of hand programming, and I'm going to time out. Back to you, Bucky. KB2IDX.
All right, good deal. Yeah, that's good to know that there's that. version of Hotspot, so you could have like you can have a multi-mode Hotspot. There is a duplex here, a Hotspot, so you can do M17. I'm sure you could have a dual hotspot with M17 and DMR, maybe. Would that be possible? I think it would be. Or a simplex hotspot that you could either do. It would be a contention-based system, so you couldn't do two at the same time. But if somebody keys up on M17, you could actually tune both radios. On a simplex, you could tune both radios to one using M17 and listen to one reflector that doesn't get a lot of use, perhaps. Or and then have a DMR radio with some static talk groups that maybe not, like limited use DMR. So you could do that. Or you could have a dedicated hotspot on something really busy like KC Wide or something like that, because they do have an M17 reflector. So, yeah, so that's really good to know that you can still get in with M17. And you can always use DroidStar too. DroidStar always works with M17, and that's probably what I'll be doing. It would be really neat if they added M17 to the Shark RF M1KE. That's what I'm waiting for. But yeah, I don't know. You can experiment. I'm just, I don't have one, but that's what I'd be experimenting with, that one. Back over to you, Chris.
Yeah. Well, I am not sure you can set the slots up on a duplex for different modes on different slots. But I promise I'm going to take a look into that. And the last time something sticks in my mind that it didn't work, because you can't, it doesn't give you the opportunity to choose time slots like it does with DMR. But you never know. I will try it. Sounds like a challenge to me. And, well, it's just as much fun. But it's another HD, too. Actually, they do have some mobile as well. And for this particular radio, the future is good because it's capable of adding more modes to it. The only thing I can say, other than the Artifact R2D2 stuff, is that the battery, it was a used radio, so the battery was used as well. And it doesn't last that long, and I've already ordered a new battery. In fact, I ordered a high-capacity one that connects us themselves, so that should take care of that issue. It's a nicely made radio. It looks good. The firmware can only get better. Back to you, AB2IDX.
Well, I know you couldn't take advantage of it on a Duke. You can't do slots on two different radios. But I'm talking about a simplex hotspot, not using time slots. For example, that's what I do with, I have one Pi-Star that has one reflector on YSF that hardly gets used. And then the rest of them, a bunch of DMR talk groups that don't get used very often. And I just sit there and listen to those talk groups that don't get used very often, and occasionally there's some traffic that I will hear. So, and if somebody's using that talk group, then the rest of the talk groups, if somebody talks on them, of course I won't hear them. But I imagine you could do that like I do it with Fusion and DMR. And I bet you can do that with M17 and VMR2 with that fork version, but I'm just guessing. I think that would work. But all right, let me pause here just a second and see if there's anybody that has any comments or questions for the net. Please come down with your call sign.
W0 KVZ comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Bill. Let's hear what you have to say.
With regards to M17, there is the fork that was developed by the project for WPSD. And most recently, I think as of August 1st or 2nd, somewhere in there, one of the developers came up with a fork to add to the WPSD, which will also allow you to not only use M17, but to use texting on M17 at the same time. Back to you.
Okay, so did I hear that correct, where it does not allow you to do texting at the same time, or it does?
Not exactly sure how that's done, but supposedly the information is on the M17project.org Foundation website.
Okay. Somebody just put a direct link to the download, and I had already downloaded it in case I want to go get one of those M17 radios. Who knows? Maybe since the price came down, that would be cool. Maybe this has been a good thing for M17 after all. All right. Thank you, Bill. W0KVZ from W0SUN. All right, Chris, I'm going to pass it over to you to get us up to speed on who's checked in since we last checked. Over to you from W0SUN.
All right, let's get to it. We left off at KD0D, and we have since been joined by K0GIO, WX4C, K5RUN, WD0HDR, and 6UTC, KE0SMR, and WA2NYY. Awesome. And I think before we close out, which is going to be a little bit, we'll do the over-the-air. Oh, one more. Carrot, W7FMJ. So we'll do the over-the-air in just a little bit here. That brings us up to 43 in the Handout Live chat room. If you are out there just checking in, Handout Live on any browser. That's where we are. And we'll take some over-the-air check-ins in a little bit. But that's it, Bucky. Back to you. K2IDX.
All right, we got time for one more question or comment. Anybody have any questions or comments for the net? Keep in mind that this month there is a Swap Fest up at, it's a Rocky Mountain Ham Swap Fest. I put the information in the chat room here. Let me see if I can get that information back at the beginning here. I will, I'll put it in there. Oh, there it is. So let me get to that, and there we go. All right, so let's do any last minute questions or comments. Any questions or comments for the net? Please come now.
W2HAZ. K5RUN.
Okay, real good. I got Eric first, W2HAZ, and Phil, K5RUN. So stand by, Phil. Let's go with Eric in New York, actually, W2HAZ. Thanks for being late night with us. Over to you, Eric. What do you got for the net?
Well, the question I have, I have a hi-hat hotspot, and it's no longer displaying the call signs, but the radio ID number. I was wondering how I can fix that.
Okay, so you have 5-star, and on the dashboard, you're not getting the call signs. You're getting the DMR IDs, the radio IDs. And Chris, I'm going to let you go ahead and take this one. Do I understand that correctly? And I'm going to pass it to you one more time, Eric, and just verify what I said, and then I'll let you pass it over to Chris.
You put it very simply and clear. That is correct.
Okay. Eric. Based on what you said, it sounds like either the hotspot is not updating, or you have to update the radio, the contact list on your radio. In DMR, you have to update that list frequently to add newer users. Have you done that recently?
Well, I've noticed that my hotspot is not updating. It won't allow me to update. Keep saying that the update fails on the hotspot.
Ah, okay, that's a deeper issue. That might take some diving. If you have made a backup copy of your configuration, that would be good to have on hand, because it may be you might have to do a new image to a SD card. But it's going to take a little digging to be sure before we do that. And I'd be willing to work with you on that. That would probably be something we could do over the phone at some point.
Okay, that would be great. I know that Amazon sells a preloaded SD card with a 5-star on it, and I'm thinking that might be able to solve a lot of my problems. But perhaps we can exchange phone numbers. That would be great. W2HAZ.
And just send me an email. I'm good on QRZ, but it's my call sign at gmail.com. And leave it so that I remember to do that. You said you're using Pi-Star, and Paul's asking, what version of Pi-Star are you running? Do you know that? And does it work in other ways?
Excuse me. Yeah, it does work. I'm on it right now. It works. I mean, as far as, transmitting and receiving works just fine. It's just not updating. So, maybe I'll shoot you an email. And I would really appreciate that. Thank you. W2HAZ.
Yeah, that would be great. In the meantime, also, if you know how to do a manual update on it, just take it to the update window and let it run through the process and see if that helps as well. But I'll be looking for your email. And we'll leave that now. Thank you, Eric. And I guess we'll send it over to Phil now. K5RUN. What you got for us? KB2IDX and the group.
Thanks, Chris, and hello, Bucky, and everybody on the net. I just had a question. I've always heard that DMR had a big learning curve, code plugs and time slots and all sorts of things that you don't have maybe on Yaesu radios. But recently, as Chris, as you know, I've started cross mode from YSF to DMR, and none of those extra things are necessary to get into talk groups on DMR. So I'm wondering, am I getting kind of a DMR light without the full functionality of DMR by doing the cross mode, or what am I missing? How did I avoid all those extra things and just by doing the cross mode instead of having a DMR radio? So that's my question. Thank you. Back to you, Chris. K5RUN.
Well, I think that more than one opinion is going to help here, but for my 2 cents, what you're going to give up is a little bit more convenience. If you have a DMR radio on DMR, you can change talk groups from the radio. Whereas, as you found out, when you're cross-moding ISF to DMR, you can only do it at a time. And then you have to go put a different one in the configuration page, which is kind of a pain in the neck, but that's the way it works for now. So my 2 cents is, for one thing, convenience. You have talk groups, you have zones, you have contacts, and I guess it's really convenient. And here, I'm also going to send this back to Bucky and get his opinion as well, because he might have some input other than that.